Righto, legends, welcome back for part 2 of episode 13. Hope you've enjoyed the last one. Obviously, there's still more controversy to come and a few more topics to cover. Same sort of thing, but again, thanks for Matty to take his time out to join us, and we hope you enjoy episode 2 as much as you did episode 1. Keen as, bros?
Sure are. So I run through the supporters, Devil Accessories, my business, all 4-drive products. Also got a sticker machine now, so doubling in that a bit. We've got Provoked Apparel, all the way from your one shirt or your custom shirt to $500 for a business. We've got Renegade Grips, so do all your grips in your car. Customise the inside of your car. Got dog leads and all sorts of stuff, so go check them out. And Anarchy Auto Care. Do all your car cleaning, boat cleaning products, all the way from your show car to your 4-drives, all small businesses. We don't get a kick out of it, so just go support them, support someone local, and appreciate it. So hope you enjoy part 2. And
let's get to it. Cheers, eh? I'll just say welcome back. We will have to. You would have seen us just drop out. Matty's just dropped out. The sun was getting too much for his phone and himself. And he's had to move locations. So
I actually had to bang my phone in the fridge for a few minutes just to cool it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome. That's passion, mate. That's
having
passion.
a bit of a heat wave over here at the moment. So
awesome. So I was, and I'll probably go. I'll start the topic again, and then Jaden can do the magic of editing and edit that out, guys. But I started the conversation about local areas and talking about them and when not to talk about them. And obviously, I've just put out a couple of videos of our local area that are really they're pristine areas and they're pristine for a reason because people look after them. I'll just take my specs off, but I just spoke about how I've got a bit of backlash from locals. A couple of locals just saying, it's meant to be private and it's not private anymore and stuff. And where's that fine line of, do we talk about them? Do we showcase our area and let everyone know? And I sort of had that conversation with one of the locals and I said, mate, in all fairness, for the last 5 years, one of the spots being Running Waters, it's one of the most pristine places in Australia, in my opinion. It's absolutely epic, and I do know that I've watched quite a few big name YouTubers go there, and they actually don't mention. They say this is paradise, is beautiful. It's in the Pilbara, but we're not going to mention where it is. Everyone that's ever been there or knows anything about it, as soon as you see them drive in there, you know where they are. So you don't have to be a rocket science. But it's been on Wikicamps for at least 5 years now. So. I think the second last time we went into this particular area, when we drove over the hill and we filmed it, there was like 6 caravans there. And it's just, so where you go out to this particular spot, you need to park your van up and walk in because you can't, the last little 100 metres or 150 metres to the actual waterhole, and even along the waterhole, mate, it's rough as guts. Like it's you need a full drive to drive in there, and you're certainly not towing a van in there. Stupid part is, mate, Harry from Fire to Fork actually just towed his cub camper in there not that long ago. Or I don't know when he did it, but, his video came out and he towed his cub camper in there. And at the end of the day, if anyone knows that spot, everyone knows these big people have gone there, but because they're not mentioned, it doesn't mean people don't know where it is.
Yeah.
And the reality is I'm mentioning it because I live here and it's my backyard and I'm passionate about it and I believe that, people should get to see that. And I mentioned in the video, just clean up your rubbish. Don't be a grub. Look after the place and it'll be kept open forever. So that's that positive message. But there's that fine line, mate. There's that a bit of a moral compass. Just even listening to, again, I listened to the boys' podcast last night and then I was just processing our conversations for today. Where is there am I going to get to that spot like you now, Matty, where I don't talk about it? Like, I'm not gonna mention it anymore. I'm gonna go to a spot. I know I did a boys trip with Pete from Wacker just recently, and we went to a spot that we didn't mention it. Every one of us just said it was a private spot, and I won't mention that spot. There would be people that knew where we were, but there'd be people that wouldn't have a clue, and they'll never know unless they were to to reach out with to me personally, and it was someone that I had full trust in, I may give them that location. But we've always said, mate, it's about getting out there and exploring. And we didn't find all these places off wiki camps and all the rest of it. We live here, so we're very guilty of just like, where's that track go? And then all of a sudden you stumble upon places. So I struggle now, and even just you saying that now, Matty, where, you know, previously in your videos from a year, 2, 3 years ago, saying this is where I am. How beautiful is this? This is what you need to come out and experience, because the feeling I'm getting right now, I want my fellow campers, travellers, tourists or whatever, I want you to feel this, because this is epic. This is what it's all about, guys. But then now you're getting to a point where it's like, just find it, you know, use the story bit out. I had to find it too. So, you know, I think it's a tough line to draw in the sand where someone as small as me, would I have an impact as the same as someone that's a big YouTuber or whatever? Where do we draw the line? Where do we stop? Where we just, you know, go back to fuck YouTube. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just going to put the cameras away, and I'm just going to go and enjoy the bush. Like, because it almost, I think, and I reckon you would, Matty, and I reckon a lot of us have, and I don't compare my scale to you or to anyone else or whatever, but I think everyone has that, and you as well, Jaden. You've got your own YouTube channel. Oh, just because you've been in that for a little bit, maybe. Yeah, my bad. I'm just forgetting me, mates. Jag the Joker, in case anyone doesn't know. But the reality is, I think we've all had that discussion in our own heads, saying, I'm done with this. Like, you know, if you go somewhere, you showcase somewhere that it's that thing that's scrutinising something, you know, like, again, what impact do I have if I'm driving along with no seatbelt on? Is it that big an impact? Like, do people actually think I'm condoning, or I'm saying to people, hey, look at me, Brad from Red Dust Adventures, I'm that cool, I don't run seatbelts, you should do it too. I've never said that. I've never said to anyone, don't run a seatbelt. I've never said to someone, leave your shit in the bush, I'll pick it up when I come through. I've never mentioned that to anyone. So, I don't know. I think it's a bit of a tough gig on the whole. How much of an influence are influencers, YouTubers, social media people, TikTokers, whatever you want to call them? How much of an influence are we as a whole having to the bigger picture, the bigger problem of track closures, area closures, bollards, and again, you know, to go back on the whole concept of, you guys have mentioned a few times in this potty already about COVID and the effect COVID's had. Again, we live here in the Pilbara, mate. I'll go on about it. We had zero impact up here. Our lives did not change.
Yeah.
We went to work every day. We still went camping every weekend or when we were on days off. It was like we were in a different country.
Yeah.
Like we were absolutely oblivious. I was talking to my mum. Mate, we got to a point through COVID where my mum wouldn't even talk to us because they were in full 24, they were in full lockdown, mate. They weren't allowed to go anywhere. Whereas, like, we were ringing and saying, how'd your weekend go? Like, oh, well, we're in lockdown. How do you think our weekend went? What did you do? It's like, well, we went camping for the weekend because nothing changed here, mate. So we probably haven't understood, we don't have the education on what impact it had to where before COVID, broke inlet wasn't a thing, locals went there or whatever. Then after COVID, because you were so segregated in your regions, it's like, well, mate, the shackles are off. I'm going to go to everywhere and anywhere I possibly can. So we've never had that impact up here. So I'm uneducated to have an opinion on it. And I didn't feel the effects. So, again, that's that. Whether you're a YouTuber or you're just a bare bum in the shower, like, people have flooded areas, and has that, what impact has had that on the broader picture? Like, again, I don't know. So, I hope I've answered that question for, the effect of YouTubers or influencers or whatever. Who stated that? Was that Dylan,
Yeah. But it was sort of also, I was thinking too, I've seen it many times on like Facebook, you get all the YouTubers that will go promote their video or something. If you really want to find out anyway, like, you could say, okay, you're going to, wherever, go down a certain spot, I'm not going to say it, you go in the comments, oh, that's at Yugerup, I've been there, or,
100%.
so are you really hiding it? Like, because there's always someone, where is this? And then someone that's a local says it anyway. So,
And the silly part in that, mate, I had a local, and I put a post up of a photo of one of these special spots that I've done a video, same person. And I reckon they'll know if they watch this. I don't care if they do or not. Like, I couldn't give a rat's ass. But the reality is, mate, they smoked me for mentioning this particular spot on a video, and then I put a post up on it on my Instagram, and they went into the comments and said, "Oh, that's Running Waters." It's like, mate, you've just smoked me for putting it in my video, and then you just put it on my Instagram. Like, I have more followers on my Instagram than I do on my YouTube. So you've just told everyone where it is. Like, man, catch a breath. Like, process what you just did. And then I private messaged him, and I just said, "Hey, man, like, at the end of the day, just a nice little message. Well, you sort of flogged me for putting it in my video, and then I've just put a bloody photo up of the area, and you've just named it for everyone to see. And I can't, I'm not going to go in there and delete his comment or whatever." So, crazy concept, but again, it's that, do we get to a point where we let everyone find these places for themselves to prevent the influx of people into the areas or not? Not sure, mate. Not sure. But, it goes hand in hand to the more people go in, the more damage gets done, unfortunately. Bigger footprint. And, again, that overarching problem of area closures, bollards, gate closures, and no education for that sort of stuff. It just gets bigger and bigger, and the population's growing. So I don't know how do we stop it. Is there any other statements in there, mate, that are relevant?
Yeah.
Oh, not relevant, but like.
You didn't have anything more on that, mate, did you? If I move on.
No, that's the covered well.
Yeah, I was just thinking, we're actually talking about that last weekend. Sort of on the back of that, we were talking, obviously it's Australia Day weekend or whatever, and then we're like, "Oh, we should go camping," and they're like, "Oh no, that would be chockers, and like what you're saying, mate, like, "Oh, I just don't want to go camping." It's just sad, but anyway, Liam from Bite Back Apparel, thank you very much. If you haven't checked him out, go check him out. He does some awesome stuff.
He is doing some good things.
I won't read it word for word, but pretty much said, his opinion's very minimal compared to those who've experienced it. He hasn't been wheeling for long, but where he has, there's been no rubbish, which I thought would be cool to include. That there is still spots, and I think there might be another one saying the same thing.
I think Johnny DeCosta said the same sort of thing.
I think his is the same. I'll read his now since we're on the same thing. So glad you asked. I just did a beautiful trip down south by a place called Broke Inlet. Jericho himself would know where that is, since my story I said a few episodes ago. Not one piece of rubbish, but why is it when you drive a bush track 30 minutes from home and there's poo tickets everywhere? You can drive 3 hours from Perth and it's absolute shit show. No bloody respect for the bush, but I drive 14 hours to the Pilbara. Any campsite I go to is clean. I did an Esperance run from Blue Barrel track to Esperance last year and it was spotless. So I suppose it's a good thing too that there is, sitting here talking all negative, there is actually spots that do get cleaned up, and like I mentioned before, like the Holland track, I've done that before, it's actually been spotless. And
what is it though? Is it just the harder the spots are to get to, the cleaner they are? Because there's less people that make the effort? Yeah, I think you're spot on, Matty.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are lucky in the Pilbara.
We're just earlier this week, when I was out with a few guys on this spot down on the Blackwood. Not a speck of rubbish. But this campsite's well known, but it's not a popular... It's not well known in the sense of we would imagine being well known. It's known by a certain few people, and obviously someone that was there last, is if there was any rubbish to clean up, they've cleaned it up, taken their own rubbish out, and it was pristine. And there's been very few times that we've been there that it has actually been really badly needing a clean up anyway. So it's the tyranny of distance. Same with the wheat belt. You get out to those spots out there at the wheat belt where you're pushing more 4, 5, 6 hours, and you won't find rubbish. And they can be free camping spots too. Yeah, it's just it's the overwhelmingly the people, I believe, that are guilty of the rubbish are locals that are flying out to the popular, easy to get to spots.
Yep.
Within that couple hour radius. Yeah.
Yep. And look, I mean, I'll say again, one of the locals that sort of roasted me just recently, and I just, again, that we've got a spot, so we don't really get much of a wet here in the Pilbara. We have, sometimes we just won't get bugger all rain for the year, or we don't get any rain, and it won't rain. We don't per se have a Northern Territory or Kimberley wet season where you're guaranteed from this month to this month it rains the whole time. And then when it does, when we have a wet, which was this year, we got a bit of had a bit of an influx of water over the last sort of month or so. There's one particular spot that's only, 100k out of town, called the Shore River. I'm going to call it out, because I hope everyone hears this. Every local that watches me potty or listens to it, have a good listen, because you all go out there to the Shore River. It floods across the road. It's in between Port Hedland and Marble Bar, and everyone goes out there. Mate, if you go there after a weekend of everyone being there, it's an absolute tip. Like, mate, you can go, I could drive past there now and it's been cleaned up, because they do actually clean that road, I believe. Because I've been there when it's been spotless. You go out there after a weekend, if it's piss down rain during the week and then on the weekend, everyone will go out there. Like, mate, you can go out there and the cars are lined up down the edge of the road. Like, you got quads, like road trains and that going up and down that road all day, every day. The cars are all lined up on the road. The water's full of people, and then you leave. You go back there on a Monday, or the day after everyone's left, when everyone's gone back to work or whatever. It's an absolute tip. So that's a shout out to the locals. You can piss and moan all you want. At the end of the day, if you're going to go out there and act like pigs, pay the price. Pick up your rubbish. If you're taking it with you, take it out. It's all good to say we want everything pristine. Don't tell people about the spots. The reason those other spots are pristine, because they're harder to get to, mate, because they are 5 hours up the road. You do have to do a full drive track to get in there.
Yeah.
It's not a piece of piss to get in there. So the lazy people that are just easy, like you said, Matty, those people that just want to go away, and not to target people, but, your weekend warriors that just want to go away for a weekend and just rip up a joint and get out of there.
Yeah.
Couldn't give a rat's ass. And are they the biggest problem? They're a part of the problem, 100%. And I think the people that go spend big money and do the extra miles to get to a spot, you make that extra effort to make it pristine, because you go that extra mile to get to those pristine, beautiful spots for a reason, because you don't want to be around people's nappies and poo tickets and rubbish and shit everywhere, because it's not what you go out to the bush for. And look, I mean, there's a trade-off. I know Fee and I spoke about it, about the whole exposing, a couple of great spots here in the Pilbara. There's small communities there, being Marble Bar and Nullagine. Mate, they don't get a lot of business. There's, if we can get people to come in there and be responsible into that area, because it is so far out of town, not everyone has long-range tanks and jerry cans and all the rest of it on there. Those local communities do get business, whether it be fuel or stopping in there to get water because it's hot, or, stopping in there to get beer or whatever at the pubs there. Because, they've got pubs that aren't open like a normal pub, like they're open limited hours. But you'll get business there. Isn't that what it's about? We harp on a lot of the time about small areas. If you're going through one of those small towns, stop at the bakery, grab a bloody pie, put some money into the local communities and stuff like that. It's a bit of a trade-off. Do the right things. I know a lot of you guys in the southwest have got your particular pubs that do a mean palmy. So I know you say about it, Matty. I can't remember the exact pub you talk about. But, at the end of the day, a lot of people go there. But you've mentioned that in your YouTube channel, and that brings people to it's like, mate, everyone loves a mean palmy. If they do a mean palmy, I'm going there. And people will drive an extra hour and go there and do that. It brings business to the community. If there is a light, that people can sort of, whether it be YouTube or whatever, on just, if you've just got a bloody Facebook account, it's like, had a mean lunch at the bloody Overlander on the weekend, get down there, get around it or whatever. That's the good thing. So there is still good people out there trying to do the right thing, and there is still people that will piss and moan, but a lot of the time the people that are piss and moaning are your problem. And that's a reality. That'll never change, So,
yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Liam.
Yeah.
Did we ever actually? Did I just go on a tangent then, or
Oh,
did
fine.
we
just,
actually?
just usual, mate.
Or did we actually
No, no,
like?
no. It's fairly
Oh,
close, yeah.
but there is still beautiful
Yeah,
spots out there
yeah,
that
yeah,
people
yeah.
are doing the
100%.
right
And
thing
no,
by.
you're right on. And also, not to go back around too much, but as you know, like kids and stuff, kids do what they know.
Yeah,
So if
absolutely.
we're doing this now, what's the next generation going to be doing? Like this
Yeah,
generation is doing this now. I feel like if you can really, and I've seen on certain YouTube channels and Instagram and all that sort of stuff where they have families and they're out there with the kids. Obviously
yeah,
teaching them safely with some gloves and make sure you be careful what you pick up and they're out there picking it up. So I reckon
yeah,
that needs to be a real strong thing that we can pass on to that next generation. Otherwise, it's going to be
100%.
if it's bad now, like what's it going to be for the next generation?
And mate, you sort of trigger me again. Then where I've just announced we've just before Christmas we went away with my daughter, my oldest daughter or our oldest daughter, and then the younger daughter went out with her in her Prado and done a couple of full drive tracks out to a waterhole, and yeah, the youngest daughter's come home and said, I'm like done with watching this, I'm getting rid of my Mazda, I'm buying a Hilux. And she has, man, like two weeks later, she's got a Hilux sitting in the driveway. So our kids, and I know I've said behind closed doors to you, Jaden, the whole concept of, we thought, because I've grown up around it all my life, my wife did for a long time, since we've been together, that's all we've done is live in the outdoors. Our kids have been brought up with it. They got to that teenage, age where it's like, nah, mum and dad aren't cool anymore. Like, I'm going and doing teenage stuff. And I know I've said it in the past, like, we thought we were losing the kids there. They were just going to go and do whatever, and we'll never get them back in the bush. It's gone full circle to where now they've both got full drives. They want to do what they did growing up doing. They want to do what their mum and dad do. But that teaching the kids the right way, that cultural thing, or that, education is like, one of the first things you should get in your car is a bin bag. Or don't worry about having cool wheels and, like a sick lift and all that sort of shit. Put bin bags in your car,
Yeah.
or take out cans out there, or take reusable, bottles where, you can bring them home with you and fill them up when you get home, or, just the food you take or whatever, educate your kids and educate your friends, because again, going back to that ignorance thing, like teach people just, even like with your, how many times you go fishing at the beach or like, places and there's bait bags and that, like, what makes you think that the bait bag's going to break down? Like, you've brought the bait out there, you've used the bait, you've caught a mint fish, potentially you've just caught your first ever salmon or your snapper off the beach or whatever, and then just, what's the process where I'm just going to leave my bait bag there in the sand dune and it'll just get picked up somewhere? Like, what is that? Like, I don't understand the process. So again, getting into educating people and saying, hey mate, that's not good, or that's not a thing. Grab your bag, take it with you or whatever. Education again. Teach your kids, teach your mates, teach your people that don't understand that may not just be flogs. They might just not have an understanding of, mate, you've got to take shit with you. Because, mate, I know back in the day, it was normal for people just to like have a can of baked beans, put it in the fire, heat it up, eat it, and then just throw your tin in the fire and just hope it's going to break down. It was, for as long as I've grown up, that was a thing. It's actually not a thing. It doesn't break down unless you've got a fire that's going for the next couple of days and it is lava. Those cans don't break down. You can't just have a normal fire and that can just melts down. Do you know what I mean? How many times have you just gone into a campsite and see the fire there? It's all, might have even been put out or whatever, and there's still cans sitting on top, or it's like, what is that? And bottles and shit. Like, why did you just put a bottle in the fire? Like, it's not a furnace, it's a fire. Like, so, yeah, I don't know. Again, education, mate. Education. Is there anything else there, Jordan?
That's it. Yeah.
No, covered it. Yeah, old Gavin, Mr. Krusty. Oh, that's his channel. A guy on his troopy, isn't it?
Correct.
So we got he's taken over what's his name's job? The big, I'll change a few words in here to keep it PG, but not much you can do about it other than pick up what you see lying around are always going to do it. If you see someone and they're doing the wrong thing, take a photo of their number plates and report it to the police. As for the tracks, they will continue to be closed. That way they are saving their budgets and they don't have to do maintenance on them. Huge costs over here to get plant, etc. Up in the high country, and they'll put the... It's for the public safety more than the flogs that don't air down. I reckon there are two topics we will lose the battle with, and that is more NPSs. That's one. That's the one I'm going to be fighting for. F this 30 by 30 bullshit. We are one of the cleanest countries in the world, yet we are bending over to the UN while other countries go about polluting the world with nothing being done about it. When they try to start this emerald link in my backyard, then I'll voice my opinion. But we do need to respect the track closures and not go cutting locks and damaging gates, etc. Otherwise, we as the four-drive community will never gain the respect of the governing bodies. Which I reckon that is a ripper right up there.
100%. 100%.
Yep. Nailed it.
Do you want to add to that, Matty? Like, because I think we all agree. Like, give us your spin on that.
Yeah, I'm quite... He's touching on the political part of it there, and I'm quite political myself, so I agree with that sentiment. I think a lot of this agenda is greenie agenda. I mentioned before about a lot of the Indigenous agenda that's involved, whether you might agree with or not. I think, like any agenda, it can get radicalised, and I think a lot of that is happening with these track closures. They're using a lot of biomitigation is at risk here as well. With closing tracks, you're shutting up a lot of fire tracks and accessibility for fire prone areas and being able to get there when they go up. They're not. There's a lot there to unpack with that alone, just with the fire. That a lot of clearing hasn't been getting done. A lot of the tinder hasn't been getting burnt, and then they get a. We just saw it in LA. You just get one perfect fire event where the wind's right and the heat's right and so on and so on. And it's happened in Australia. It happened in 2020, just before COVID, over there in Victoria. And you get this one-off event that's been coming for years and years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they all turn around and call it climate change. And I don't want to get into the climate change part of it.
Yeah.
But solely looking at it from the standpoint of the simple fact that a lot of these governments that are shutting tracks down and shutting down areas, not just tracks, but for hiking and for general day use and so on, a lot of these same governments are the exact same authorities and powers that be that are also stopping clearing in the name of a frog in the area, or not opening dams so that we've got enough water. And a lot of these, it's a lot more than just losing our tracks. There's a lot of environmental impact happening within this same ideology and agenda within these governments. And I think a lot of us are waking up to it. A lot of us are waking up to a lot of this lefty lunacy that is happening, and the impact it's having. Now they're really getting awoken to it now over there in LA, which is ironic because these are the same kind of elitists that keep voting in these exact governments that have implemented policies that have ultimately led to them losing everything.
100%.
And it's sort of where Tony's coming from as well. He mentioned these left-leaning governments that love control. They love to shut things up. They love ideology. They love bending at the knees of all these little fringe groups that, I've got to be really careful with what I say here, but a lot of it
100%,
is the I won't say it, you've got to really start thinking about who you might be voting for now. Is basically the case in point of it, because you keep voting in these governments that are leaning towards Labor and the Greens, this is what you get.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day, this is what you get, because they're the governments that are at the forefront. And there's the Liberals. The Liberals aren't that much better, especially in New South Wales. they're quite left leaning, wet liberals as well. But if you can vote as much away from the Greens and Labor, I'm getting way too political. I shouldn't be saying that.
Nah, and look, I mean, it's a reality, mate.
But that's Tony, and that's what Tony's trying to say, and that's what
Yep.
Krusty's saying, and that's what I believe in as well. That you can try and steer this in a bit of a different direction by where you're going to vote, where your vote's going to go, and just start to tune in a little bit to what policies you're seeing being put in place, not only for us as four drivers, but the impact that they're having, the policies are having in general in your regional areas, because it's affecting farming. Everything's been affected by these lefty leaning governments, like
100%.
And once you start to tune into that a little bit and go, it's starting to make a little bit sense here. The apple's not falling too far from the tree. And what Gav says there about respecting the closures, that is just so utterly important. You do not want to give them more reasons for them to look at us as an industry and go, well, this is why we shut you down, because you're all a bunch of unlaw-abiding redneck hillbillies that just go in and do whatever you want, and this is exactly why we've done it. You have to respect it. Once it's shut, you have to respect it.
That's the right chance to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's where Tone's sort of bringing up where, guys, absolutely, if you've got a valid reason and you've got analytics, statistics or whatever to show, by closing that up has actually had an impact for the better, 100%. Again, back in the day, they stopped. You could go to any forest, state forest. Probably not. National parks weren't as big back when I was growing up, but you could go to a state forest, mate, and you could cut. If there was a tree down on the ground, you could cut it up, and you were encouraged to get the forest floor cleaned up.
Burn the wood that's on the ground, the dead wood that's on the ground. Yeah,
because it's just fuel for a bushfire.
Fire mitigation. And all the tracks that we drive, they keep them clear. They keep the tracks 100%. Clear.
That was a thing. No, and that's that point. And I think that's where we've had that same fight. For us, mate, I'm 50 years of age, 51 years of age, and I remember as a kid growing up being, 10, 12, 13, with my parents going away in Talangi and Narberthong and Maryville and like all the high countries and, Big River, Lacola, Craig's Heart, Mount Sterling, all these areas, mate, it was encouraged to take the forest floor, clean up the fuel off the floor and do that. And then all of a sudden it's like, for whatever reason, because I didn't understand all the policies and politics back then, and probably still don't now, mate. I'm sort of a bit head in the sand when it comes to politics, as I do my fucking head in just quietly. But the concept that you used to be able to do it, now you don't. And then going 20 years later and you look at like, wow, that's actually, we fucked up there in a nutshell. And I think, mate, that stupid as it is, because you're sort of touching on a bit of like, I've got a couple of mates that are like real conspiracy theorists. And when it's off topic, but it means exactly the same, mate. When COVID came out, mate, I was essentially had a gun to my head. If I wanted to keep my job and keep working and pay my mortgage, I had to get the jab. And my wife and I and our kids, because my kids work here too, we all had to get the jab or pack up
you're
stuff.
Out of work. Yeah, you're out of work.
Now, looking at it now, fuck, Matty, if I had known if I could have just like sustained that couple of months, had I known, if I had a crystal ball, not a chance would I have put that shit in my arm.
No.
And now we're starting to do that whole, wow. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. This is just all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's scaremongering. It's rubbish, and it puts fear in people. So you do what you're told, and at the end of the day, mate, like it's no different to closures and all the rest of it. We've somehow have been made to believe that it's a good thing. Apart from smart enough people to understand, it was never smart to just leave fuel on the ground. It was never smart to just let the fire trails get overwhelmed and overgrown to where all of a sudden there's a bushfire and they can't get trucks in there. Mate, it was. Why didn't anyone see that? Or plenty of people seen it, but just couldn't get the voice across. And now we're realising years later, like, that was pretty dumb.
Yeah.
We've already realised that getting neat, I don't know, like, and that's another controversial subject that's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with what we're talking about. But,
Yeah.
mate, at the end of the day, it's still about politics, about the whole, you know, we've learnt from the past. We've learnt that it's a natural thing for just to burn the fuel. It's a natural thing. Don't go cutting locks. 100% what Krusty's saying. Let's not get dumb about it. You know, driving around gates and finding another path into a track just to be in there. It's dumb. Like, let's take it on board, cop it on the chin, but let's do what Tony's sort of asking. Guys, explain to us why. Why are you closing it? Why is this happening? You know, and again, they said in their potty, mate, something about, not word for word, don't quote me on this, something about they've closed areas down to four-wheel drivers and motorbikes, I think, or maybe even just four-wheel drivers, to let mountain bike riders and walkers and stuff to go into this area. But it's become that overgrown. Now the walkers are going through there. The walkers are actually walking out with seeds and that in their boots.
Yeah.
Apparently, and now, you know, whether it be Lantana or whatever, they're actually spreading that to other areas, or it's not controlled enough to everything's getting overgrown to where the bushwalkers don't care. Like, they're not putting that. All they want to do is just get to that spot. Like, I don't know how to explain that where it makes sense, but we're actually tried to mitigate something, but we've actually gone backwards. We actually haven't achieved anything.
Yeah, you're
created another problem.
Creating a problem for a solution that didn't exist. Does that make sense? No, what's that saying? Yeah.
Created another problem for a problem that wasn't even there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, and no solution for either of them. So now we're essentially digging a hole for ourselves, but no one in government is ever going to say, yeah, we fucked up. Yeah, we cop it on the chin. Everyone come back in. Yeah, that's saying, yeah, don't fix what's not broke. Yeah, 100%. But again, there's that thing of, you know, showing respect to the decisions that have been made, but fight for your rights and fight for what seems to the normal person as a dumb decision, a dumb concept. Like, you know, get behind these guys. You know, like, get behind because it's not all just about bollards and all the rest of it. There's a bigger picture. Again, like we say, we're sort of probably going round and round, but it's that same thing, mate. We need people to have passion, but have that voice, get around each other. And yeah, mate, if you want something, fight for it. You know, like, if you don't want your family to be hurt in your home, you'll fight for them. You're not going to just say, oh no, the government's told me I'm not allowed to hit old mate in my home. Well, there's no rules in my home. Like, at the end of the day, mate, you're not coming in here. Whether I get locked up because you're not allowed to assault someone in your own home when they're robbing you, like, when did anyone think that was a normal thing? Like, at the end of the day, like, same thing as, like, mate, if you don't want to get to a point where my kids that have just bought four-wheel drives are only going to get to use them for 2 or 3 years, and then it's going to be at a point where it's like, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You know, we're changing names and we're closing places, and only certain people are allowed in there, and other people aren't. And, you know, you've got to buy a permit for a permit for a permit. And, you know, like, so I can buy a permit to get into this area, but if I need to get into that other little area that's within that area, I need a separate permit. But, you know, they talk again in that potty, like, you know, you buy a parks pass, but within that parks pass, you've got to buy another parks pass just to get
camping.
Yeah, you know, like, what is that? Yeah. Why am I paying a parks pass for the whole year to be within that environment? Because, you know, at the end of the day, we're paying for caretakers, we're paying for, you know, for people to look after the land and keep the tracks monitored and, you know, and looked after, and fences and gates and all that sort of stuff. That's all good. We're happy to pay that. But I don't know why we need to pay again, like double dipping on, oh no, but you've got to pay to get into that area. That's that area. That's not really incorporated in that. Well, come on, guys, like, smell the roses. Let's all band together and say, well, you know, enough's enough. Give us some statistics. Give us some real life reasons why this is happening, and what you've put in place in the previous 2 to 5 years. Has it worked? Like, give us some legitimate statistics to, has it worked? Is it going to keep going, and where do we stop?
I won't be holding my breath.
I don't think a lot of us are, mate, and I think that's the sad part. And then I guess that's, you know, we talk about it all the time, and get to Cape York now, guys, because before you know it, you won't because I think, as outdoor enthusiasts, whether it be four-wheel drive, motorbike riders, hikers or whatever, everyone loves that adventure. Everyone loves that challenge. It won't be a challenge anymore, mate. I watched the bridge. I've seen snippets of the bridge getting built over the Archer River. Holy shit, mate! It's like the bloody, what's the big bridge in Sydney? The bloody, whatever it is,
Sydney Harbour.
Yeah, the Sydney Harbour Bridge. They've built a bloody Sydney Harbour Bridge over the top of the Archer River. Like, holy shit, mate! It doesn't look like Cape York. It's crazy, but I understand there's growth, and we've got to get people into the communities or whatever. But is that any different to why put people in there? The more people you let in there, the more it populates, the more rubbish, the more dickheads. You're trying to solve one problem, but you're making another problem. And I think we all just put our head in our sand and we live day to day and we forget about all the smaller things that are going on in the background until someone like Tony brings it to everyone's attention and we go, it's fucking too late now, mate. I'd love to help, but anyway, I'm going to get back to doing what I'm doing. That's, I think, that's the message, here, that not enough of us are pulling our heads out of our asses and doing something about it. And I'm not saying Brad Ambler's the answer. I'm not saying that. But I wish the three of us and another, 500,000 like us would say, hey, that's enough. Because, again, we said at the start of this, 1 million views in a couple of days to Tone's story. And, again, I sort of said to Jaden earlier, that 1 million views isn't a real statistic or a count or a reflection on how many people, because you're saying, 5,000 out of that 1 million would actually affect the other 900,000 or whatever, simple maths, but they're not anything to do with it. They're just people that are going through an Instagram reel. There's heaps of shit on the reels, like of a dog running through a paint can and running through the house. Like, I'm not interested in that, but it's in me reels. And then all of a sudden Tony's will come after that. So 1 million people doesn't reflect on how many people that would be affected by that. But I'm pretty sure there'd be at least 50,000 or 100,000, and to only get in 2 days, 50,000 people that it would affect in the long term, only to have 11,000 people jump on and sign it, seems pretty, it doesn't seem real. It's all that, someone else will do it. Well, this is Tony, mate. Tony's doing it for you. Ruthie's done it in the past. You guys have done your cleanups down here. Like, it's all been forgotten, and again, Tony will do this campaign. It'll get a little bit of traction. It'll be, yep, and then it'll get thrown out, and then we'll go back to in another 3 years. It's sad to say, unless, all the 5 people that watch our potty actually get around it and then tell their 5 mates, and then all of a sudden there's 1,000 mates here in Western Australia. Because, again, we probably don't deal with it like the East Coast over here, because we have that big estate. I don't know whether you can put a time limit on to where we're actually truly affected over here, especially up here where I live. I think you guys will be affected down there before I will, but on the same token, mate, like anything, the more it happens down there, the more the people will start to try and make an effort to come up here. But it's happening up here, mate. Make no mistake about it. You go out to Cape Leveque, that's all tarred now. That used to be an epic track in there, but it's all tarred. And then now you're starting to go out to the spots where, out at Godalming Point and Bard Creek and all that. That's all, mate, I've been there before where there's no bollards. You go there now, every bit of access onto that beach where you used to be able to go down there on your quad bike or drive your full drive and go for fish, you can't get on there anymore. Trespassers will be prosecuted, authorised entry only. Like, I don't even know what that's about, because when you go down there, man, you can still, essentially, I don't know, if I'm breaking the rules, I'm breaking the rules. I step over that sign and walk down there. I just can't get to drive my car in there. To me, mate, that's actually Crown land down there. I'm pretty sure I can walk on the Australian coastline as an Australian citizen. I don't know why I should be locked out of there. So I might not be able to drive my car down there and do doughies and, fucking roosters and all the rest of it, but I should be able to still go down there and have a fish or pick up a shell and have a look. And, at the end of the day, I'm not sure whether any of us are ever going to get listened to and have a solution, but I'd love to hear everyone's opinions and where we're at. What do you think?
Yep, dead on.
Yeah.
Right. And touched on, I've seen a few videos of people, again, like you say, it's cool to do the wrong thing, and there was a bloke, it was actually quite impressive how he managed to do it. But, you know, creep walked around this sign at this gate, and it went viral, and then I seen it popped up again the other day, and
Okay.
yeah, that's exactly like you said, Matt. That's fuel for them, and they're gonna say this is exactly why we're shutting it. But
Yeah.
oh, you didn't have anything more to add to that, Matt?
No, all good.
No. So I got another from Dan. Meet the Metches. They're coming over to WA soon, so super keen to catch up with them.
Yep.
Lovely family. And I'll abbreviate this a bit as well. Albanese has ruined Victoria with a bunch of swear words and other words in between it. and yeah, like as you it sort of goes on the tail of that, you know, you got to be saying who you're voting for to get the changes happening. And
I don't think there's enough people like yourself, matey, that understand the politics, because there's a lot of stuff that you've just said, like you just unpacked a little bit in that little paragraph you threw out there that I'm oblivious to, mate.
Yeah.
Like I'm totally, I don't follow politics at all. I actually live a fair head up your ass life up here. I go about my business and I do my thing. I don't get caught up in it. And again, I'll cop it on the chin, mate. People like myself are probably a bit of this problem that, you know, there's not enough people getting involved in and understanding the politics behind it and who you're voting for and who you're not. Yeah, because I don't, mate. I'll openly tell you, I don't understand enough about it and who I should be voting for and who I'm not. I think at the end of the day, if people are into, you know, if there's a little organisation that are going to look after, you know, fishos, I'll vote for them, mate. If you're going to let people fish places, and you know, if I've got to buy a licence, if all I've got to do to fish a pristine water and catch me meter barra is buy a permit for the year, $100 permit, sign me up. Don't shut me out of there. Don't lock me out of there and say you can't be there. If I've just got to have that, yeah, like I'll pay me $100, and if that helps, if we all pay $100 to go to those pristine waters and all live our dream of catching our meter barra, and that helps to keep the track in open, if it keeps the banks safe, if it pays to put bloody Actung signs up there to let you know there's a crocodile in there so you don't get eaten, do it. Because, mate, there's places, again, that, you know, again, probably off topic, but there's a lot of places on the Western Australian coast now, you know, talking about crocodiles down at Exmouth and shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what's going on there? Like, what are we getting to a point where, you know, I know, like on the east coast, mate, where the further you go up north, where, you know, you've got Uruganji and you've got things that'll kill you in the water, but down south it's not a thing. You know, you can poke around in Port Phillip Bay and not be scared of having you know, you still get blue bottles or whatever, but the same thing. There's not enough money going into our recreational activities to protect us from, mate, again, it's probably a bit of a going off on a tangent, but like, when do we get to a point where we start culling crocodiles, where you can actually go safely to somewhere? Like, mate, if they're down at Exmouth, they're down there for a reason. Matty's going burning up, Matty.
So yeah, oh mate, doesn't have very good internet, which is a nice change from being one of the ups.
Yeah.
We got one more question before we wrap it up. Brendan from Ocean Heart Adventures, thanks once again as always for sending a message.
Yeah, OG.
I will dull this down.
Yeah.
I will say I'm quite impressed with it. I just won't say it. Pretty much, it's shit that you can't, that you're not allowed. What's wrong way? You're not allowed to camp on beaches in some place, such as Borenup. Yet perfectly fine on others. The law states you can fish or not, but you're not allowed to sleep. Again, another colourful arrangement of swear words.
He's a pretty colourful character.
Again, I'm impressed.
And again, mate, like, I just, you know, I'd love to hear your spin on this, Matty, and it's, again, that same concept. I don't understand, and it's funny how that process, you can go to a beach, park on it, fish all night. You can fish for 3 days straight if you want, and stand there, and as long as you're awake and you're manning the fishing rod, you can stay there for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
But you cannot reverse your car up the beach against the dune or whatever, pop your rooftop tent up, leave your rod out to catch a shark all night and go to sleep. Like, what is that? Like, again, I don't know, are we picking on the wrong people? Is there a reason that you're not allowed to do that? Is it just because they're not really telling you can fish all night? They're just not telling you can't. So as humans, we manipulate that system to where, mate, unless that sign says I can't do that, I'm actually doing it until I'm told I can't. Like, what do you think about that, Matty?
All of the above.
Yeah.
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 I think there's probably, because down our way it's DCBA, DBCA, whichever one it is.
Yep.
A lot of the dune systems are classed as sensitive areas,
Yep.
so technically not allowed up in the dunes at all. Like, I'm speaking from, say, Tim Stickett all the way down, all the way as far as you can get to Preston. I think you used to be able to get from Preston all the way down to Buffalo. I don't know if you still can now, but I would say it's just a case of making it easier on them as well, because it's a lot of that area is patrolled by volunteer rangers, not so much career
Okay.
rangers.
Yep.
As far as Borenup's concerned, that whole area between the two capes, Cape at the top, Cape down the bottom, I think I'm glad, I'm comfortable with there not being any camping in that area, because
Yep.
it is quite sensitive and it's a very pristine area, and it is so close to Perth. It does get smashed. People do camp down in those areas anyway.
Have no doubt.
People definitely camp down on Borenup Beach. But again, I think because also there's some revenue in this. You got to think of the fact that they've spent all this money on these designated campsites in there, the depot campsites. So they want to
Yep.
funnel as many people as they actually can into those areas to
Yep.
get their money. So there's
Yep.
revenue involved. Also, thinking back to 2021 when that big fire ripped through the Karri Forest down there, there's also the fact that the rangers are quite stretched with how much resources they can spend checking up on people and making sure there isn't fires being lit at inappropriate times of the year. So if you can put that blanket ban on these areas of no camping, you're eliminating a lot less risk of campfires starting, wildfires and so on as well. I think there's a lot to unpack there. I would love to be able to just drive down there and pull up on a beach and camp, and I have done before. I haven't done in a long time, because I'm sort of a bit more eager to respect that area particularly. But yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to it. There's a bit to unpack there, and sensitive areas, people not doing the right thing. So there's blanket bans, campsites. You know, that Jarradine campsite they built in there, I think 2017, 2018. That Jarradine is a big 40-odd campground, 40-odd site campground. So they're really wanting to funnel as many people as they can into Conto's Borenup campsite. The money and revenue part, like I mentioned before, would be a big factor for that, but it's also just containing the hordes, really, and eliminating risk
So
to a
essentially,
sensitive area, sensitive ecosystem.
So essentially, that is that not the way I'm reading that, Matty? Is that not a solution? Are we doing it better over here than what they are on the East Coast?
Carry on.
Yeah, well, in the fact that if there's so you're not, I'm not familiar with the areas you're talking about, but so Bunyup Beach, you're not allowed to camp there, but you can day use there from a campsite close enough by. Isn't that the solution we're all looking for? Okay, so because if you say you can camp in those sensitive areas, it just gets flogged, and then it becomes out of control. Where they get to the point where they say, bollard it up, shut it down, see you later. Whereas it seems to me a lot of the places, they're not giving you those avenues, they're not giving you those options. It's just like, nah, you're going in there. It's easier just to close the whole area down rather than saying, all right, so with the money that we're going to spend and our taxpayers' money and whatever, let's have a designated area. It goes down. Yes, it's controlled, mate, and all the rest of it, and it might be bollards, but you can still camp in there and go and do your day use, drive along the beach, go for a fish or whatever, and then come back to camp each day. That's a solution. It's not just a blanket, see you later, it's, you can't come in this area. Yep. It actually polices the area. It makes it work for everyone. And again, it's that opens another Pandora's box. I know in one of our other potties we spoke about how you can go to Steep Pointy in WA and you can actually book 10 sites for a month and then just use one site.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a bit like Jaden. When I told Jaden that, Jaden thought that was the funniest thing and thought that was the smartest thing to do. Like, how smart is that? You just like basically have Steep Point to yourself.
Yep.
I'm a bit like, you don't really need to be that greedy. If you're only going to use one spot, use one spot. So, and I guess that's what happens. There's that trade-off to where, righto, well, if I can pay for it and book that in, I'll just book all 40 spots at that Barron camping ground. Not that you would, but you know what I mean. I think that becomes another thing. But I think doing that, because I didn't know that, I just sort of probably never processed that. That's actually a good solution, and maybe that they could do that on the East Coast. I think it's a fair point.
Well, there's a bit to unpack there, but I think you'll get. So the problem is you'll get all these OGs and the hardcores that'll be like, oh, paid sites, I'm not paying, I'm not going to a designated site, I don't want to be around other people. So they're in that mindset that no matter what, it's their right to go and camp wherever the hell they like, on a beach, no one around, free camp, and that's just their mindset. So that means that they're not going to entertain the idea of going to these designated areas ran by D4 where you have to pay. And that's that. It's as simple as it is. So for those kinds of people, they're still going to go out and camp wherever they want anyway. For the greater camping population, there will be the understanding and the respect that, I'm not allowed to go and camp in these free areas. I'd love to go and pull up on the beach down there. It'd be beautiful too, but I know I'm not allowed to. We would like to have a dump toilet anyway, and there's some facilities for cooking and a bit of water and whatnot. So we're more than happy to take the caravan or whatever it might be and pull up in a designated area, and then from there we can shoot off no more than 10 Ks off into these beautiful spots and see all this area for what it's got to offer anyhow, and return back to camp. So there's a bit to unpack there. I think with WA, you're right, we have done it pretty well, depending on how you look at it, because that's the perspective. That's the two perspectives that we've got. Back in the day, dwelling up, you could pull up into what was called Baden Powell there at the main bit. Pull up a site under a palm tree, camp wherever you want. The ranger would come around, grab a fee off you, and that was that. That was how you camped in the area. Same with Nanga Mill around the other side of the river. Nanga Mill still exists like that, but it has been built up with some caravan sites, so it is a little bit more built up there. And it also has been built up where they're currently in the middle of opening up another big site, so they've cleared a lot of pine trees and they're opening up another bit there. However, back around Baden Powell, what was once that nice little area that you would pull up and camp in under the pine trees, that's been completely levelled and turned into a massive car park. And now Baden Powell campground is up the hill. They've shut a lot of the tracks that were in up around there that we used to drive, and there was downhill tracks and that we used to ride. That is now a designated campground with 30-odd lots, 40-odd lots up in there. Deep-water site, pay for, book online, so on. Every weekend it's booked out. Every single weekend. Really? 100% absolutely booked out, and you probably won't be able to get a site in there if you're, say, it's Wednesday and you feel like going camping that weekend and you go online to try and book it. You're probably going to have to book it out 3 or 4 weeks in advance, sometimes even more.
Yeah, mad.
So depending on how you look at it, you're saying that is the solution, and 100% is. But the issue is, you're still going to get these hardcores that go, no, I'm not camping there. I only camp in free spots, man. I don't want to be around people. I have to go way off into here, there, wherever, to feel like I'm actually camping, where I'm away from people. And so it's a matter of perspective. If you, and for me personally, I'm now actually going back to camping in these designated areas because I know I'm not going to see rubbish. I'm not going to see toilet paper everywhere. I'm going to be there mostly with caravanners who are older folk or families, and I know I'm not going to have to put up with. I could drive 2 hours off into a remote spot in the bush. It's probably going to be taken. B, I might have someone else around me who wants to just cut sick all weekend with their cars or bikes or have music going, which is totally fine. You're well within your means to do that, but me personally, I don't want to be around that. So now my payoff is, this is sort of where I'm at now, my payoff is, well, I'd rather be in a designated campsite where I know it's going to be clean, and I'm probably going to be, even though I'm around a lot more people, I'm probably going to be less, not
affected.
all the time, but yeah, in some cases I'm going to be less affected, yeah.
Or agitated.
Yeah, essentially. And not everyone agrees with this point too, because you're still, in those kind of designated sites, you're still very close to people. And I won't necessarily go out and do it on a Saturday night, but if I've got a free weeknight, 100% I'll go out to a designated site because I know it'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Whereas I could drive out to one of my favourite free spots now that's just, I know, has just been getting habitually trashed and destroyed, and I've got to do an hour's worth of cleaning up before I even set up camp, or there might be someone not too far away from me somewhere in another spot that's just being so obnoxious that I don't even want to be. I don't even want to be there. So yeah, that's sort of where it's at with developing. The Cape is a great example of that down there in that Borenup region where. Yeah, you can't camp in those isolated areas, but for good reason, because it's so hammered by backpackers as well and travellers that come through, and they'll pull up into every single car park. This particular season now, the hotter months, the backpackers come running through that place and they just park up anywhere. Every beach car park at every spot, the rangers are so busy dealing with all those backpackers.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And pulling up into a random car park, the rangers are so busy with that, they just don't have the resources to go and check that people are doing the right things out on the beaches. And those areas are so sensitive with that karri forest. It's such a unique area where you have the karri forest coming right down onto the ocean there and the cliffs, and it's very hard for them to probably mitigate that sort of. One starts camping, you let the place be a free-for-all, and one starts camping, and the next thing, Borenup Beach would just turn into something you would see down in Esperance on a long weekend. And I think that it's probably quite wise for that area to be set up how it is. As far as Tim Stickett and that goes, everyone goes down and camps anyway. Whether it's legal or not, people just do it anyway. After Australia Day's tomorrow, right? So... or it's Monday, whichever day it is. I categorically guarantee once Australia Day's been done down there, I could go down there with 3 or 4 Hessian bags and I'd spend the entire day just cleaning the beach. Happens every time. People are camping down there, and again, it's the fact that it's so close to Perth as well. It's so convenient to get down there, and the volunteer rangers aren't much chop. They're not. It's not within their pay grade to go up to people and move them on. For career rangers will, and there might be a few down there, but the volunteer rangers want to be helpful to people, not sort of come up and start scolding people, because there's a bit of a liability with that as well, with how aggro we've gone 100%. We've gone away from that nice happy camper that we used to have 10 years ago, and everyone's quite angry and entitled now. And if you go up to someone and start trying to tell them what for, they're not going to hear it. They're going to tell you to F off and give you a mouthful. So it's all perspective, I think. Yeah, it is. I know over there in the east there are campsites littered through the Blue Mountains and the hill country and that, and I'm quite envious of a lot of those camps that I see Gavin going to, and but we just don't have that same volume of tracks over here. We don't have that. We don't have that same expanse over here in WA in our southwest corner. So it's such a different comparison. And for the most part, all those tracks, every single one of those tracks, pretty much in that Borenup Cape area. You got Bob's Hollow and Bob's Track, which goes to Borenup Beach. There's all those Fireline tracks down there that take you to all these various coastal spots that are full-blown full driving too. If I took you guys down there, you'd be on 15 PSI in low range. And your big girl, she'd struggle on some of those big wombat washouts down there on these tracks that that have just come out of nothing but a fire line track, you know.
Yeah.
And it's some of the most wild, rugged coastline you'll get, and you can 100% camp down there. But yeah, to respect not camping down there is probably the wisest thing. And
Yeah.
to not have all those areas all flooded with people camping, and like I say, yeah, you can camp in these designated areas and then go off and do some gnarly fall driving. You can get bogged on Borenup Beach in an absolute instant if you're not paying attention. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's all relative. I think it's all very relative and all about perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
100%.
go.
A very fucking wise man, Matty.
Yeah.
There was, as you were talking that, because there was talk, and I don't know how true it is, but like probably the most popular beach that I've keep going, well, as I grew up, as you grew up, and you know, Warren Beach and all that. And now it's busy, you know, there's lots of people that film there and and it's full drive clubs, you know, it would be busy this weekend, any public holiday, I think it's packed. And apparently, and forever since I've been a kid, everyone can just camp there. You know, you either went up behind the dunes or up on the beach there, and yeah, it's just good. You know, salmon season, you go camp up there and throw a rod out, and yeah, salmon season, it's pretty cool. You know, the whole beach is littered with salmon heads, and apparently, you know, they're talking, I don't know how true it is, I haven't been down there yet, but, you know, they camp on the beach anymore, and there's someone down there finding people, and yeah, like, as you're saying that, well, it's getting quite a popular beach now, and, you know, there is the camp spots back up in the track, but not that many.
No.
So it'd be interesting to see what maybe they will put a proper camping spot in there, I don't know, but yeah, I think times are changing, like, we have to learn to adapt to the shit it is. Like, I'd love to keep going down there and camp. This is always what we've done, you know. Just keep going down there and camp. But if we want to save it for the next generation, or, you know, there has to be a bit of, you know, we don't want them to we don't want them to put a gate up. Well, what do we have to give, you know? So maybe, all right, 100%. Let's not camp here, and we'll go pay to go camp up here. So there's not so many people that are thrashing the track, and like. Exactly what you said, like, yeah, it needs to be a bit of give and take to be able to all continue it.
And I think, unfortunately, there's a bit of a common denominator in a lot of the stuff we're saying is population. At the end of the day, population is a big thing. Like, you cannot talk about 20 years ago, we used to be able to go here and, you know, there'd be only 2 campers. Well, at the end of the day, we've gone from, you know, 5 million fucking people to 26. I think Australia's probably 30 million now. I don't know what the population, but I reckon we'd be up around that 30 million. So, you know, you think of as a kid, the estate that you used to live in, or the area you used to live in, you know, you knew your neighbours, you knew everyone. Now you wouldn't know people, you know, you don't know anyone, like, because it's so populated. So the reality is all those spots, you know, we need to open up, because obviously there's that, you know, not that whole population wants to do what we're doing, but you know, there's definitely a bigger amount of people that want to go to the same beach and do the same fishing and do all that. You know, you talk about like salmon heads. If you had 10 people down there fishing in a season, like the old days, you know, your old salty dogs down there having a fish, and you had 20 fish heads on there compared to like 200 people on there, and they all catch 6 or 8 salmon, and you've got 1,000 fish heads on there just rotting, and then you go down there and the whole beach stinks and it's all littered. It's not comparable. You know, like, so population, unfortunately, I think that's your point, Jaden, that we can combat stuff and put stuff in place and all that, but we need to understand there has to be change, there has to be give and take, and I think that's the whole process, that we do have to accept that we can't live in the 70s, because it's not the 70s anymore, like, it's a different place now. So let's not close everything up, like, let's adapt to the times and come up with a process that all of us can go and enjoy, because, yeah, population's a killer. Like, it's a thing.
I think it might just be worth. I might be off the mark here a bit. I'm not sure, but I think it's worth remembering though that it's a lot bigger than just us now. This isn't what we're seeing. Isn't just impact of fall drivers. It's 100%. It's a lot to do with it, but we're dealing with so many government agendas now as well. More than we've ever seen in our lifetime. We've got mining to deal with. We've got all these Indigenous groups to deal with. There's so many agendas within this particular portion of government that are doing everything they can with their all little own radical agendas there to just shut everything they want up.
Yeah.
And it's we can do what we can, but also there's just going to be a point where some areas they're just going to do whatever they want to do. They're going to get their way, and if they want to shut it up, it's probably got nothing to do with four driving. Maybe in some places, I could be wrong. Could be shooting out of school here, but there is just a simple fact that we're living in this time now where we are at the helm of a government that is hell-bent on shutting places down. And if that's their will and they want to do it, by God, they're going to do it for whatever reason.
100%.
So,
and look, you talk about the times, matey. The reality is, it is normal procedure or normal behaviour now to nominate yourself as a he, him. Like, what the fuck? You're allowed to go to school in some parts of Australia, and you're actually allowed to be a cat.
Yeah.
Like, if they're the sort of shit that government are letting through, we're pushing shit uphill trying to keep.
This is what I'm saying.
Ourselves.
Yeah, we've gone a long way.
There.
We've gone a long way from having a government that, like the Labor Party used to be about wages and workers and
blue collar.
And the blue collar middle class. Now they're so far in bed with the Greens that they're all so focused on social fringe issues and it's been corrupted and permeated by so much radical agenda, and we're seeing it now with, like even if you want to buy a brand new ute, there's massive taxes now on utes because they want to try and incentivize EV purchases and so on. Like there is so much. We're just scratching the surface of this little impact this little industry is having, but there is just so much there involved we couldn't even possibly imagine. And unfortunately, we're dealing with things like 15-minute cities and so on as well. They don't want us driving these things anymore. They're not putting incentives into buying EVs because they still want us to keep driving these. Yeah. We're losing a lot of our Australian identity and culture, generally speaking. Not just the bush. We can definitely help to try and do things to make it more comfortable for us when we do go out, and to try and deflect the heat away from us as a group, to not give them too much incentive to fast track or want to shut down places. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's also so much bigger than us as well. And it's that government momentum that we're really battling with, just in everyday Australian life, unfortunately.
And mate, I'll go back and I think just, in closing, when I talked about COVID before, completely off topic, but it's not. The concept that everyone believes the government, we need to get the jab. I'm 100% in belief. I wholeheartedly believe this. If they were to turn around now and say there's another strain of COVID coming through, flu, whatever you want to call it, that's another agenda. But if they were to come through and say you need to get the jab to go to work, you would see more people in Australia saying, fuck you.
Yeah.
Not happening.
100%.
And I think that's the thing where, unfortunately, we don't have that same thing now where if we all just banded together and said, no way, man. Like, that's not happening. You're just, righto, and everyone just said, we're not buying your utes, mate, and we're not buying your that. We're not buying your electric car. Stick them in your ass. I'm happy with my old 105 that just blows soot. Like, if we had enough people standing there and saying, let's band together, guys. Like, that's a known thing. If you band together, you can actually say no.
Yeah.
There's just not enough of us that say no. And as you said, in everyday life, we just concede, we just get consumed by it all, and we just go on living. So I think, unfortunately, unless it was to affect a wider range of people, if it affect every Australian, I think you're pushing shit uphill. As much as we like to think that our little voice is going to make a difference, I think you've got to have a voice, because then I think we're all entitled to a rant and an opinion and all the rest of it. But Yeah.
The problem is hindsight's a bitch. That's the problem.
100%.
Back in
Yeah, it is.
2021, when they rolled it out, we weren't gifted that hindsight.
Nah,
And
correct.
if we saw a glimpse into what it would have meant 2 or 3 years later, probably a lot more people would have gone, nah, I'm not. You can't throw me around like this. I'm not going to download this app and show you something so I can go and have coffee. That's mental. Shove it.
Crazy.
But
Yeah.
the problem is that it's happening now again with, like you say, we're too easygoing. We don't stand up because that's the Aussie way. We're cruisy. We're casual as
Just chilled. Yeah.
and with something like the takeover of EVs or this crazy green energy that's not really panning out, and we don't have that hindsight.
To say the least.
If we could look forward to another 5 years and see, Cape York's been shut, Holland Track's been shut, Canning Stock Route's been shut, we can't go camping anymore. We're getting like a 500 kilometre limit on driving these a week. You know, if we could see into the future and see that's actually what has come.
It's about to take place
for like 2028, 2030. We would then now come back to 2025 and go, you know what? I think it's about time we stood up and did something here.
100%.
But
Perfect analogy,
again,
mate.
hindsight's the bitch, isn't it? We don't have that projection, and we don't usually react until there's already been something that's severely affected us. Just like LA, there's probably going to be a reckoning over there for the Democrat government now. But the problem is, it's going to come at a cost of everything being lost.
Yeah.
The same thing. We're not going to react until something drastic has really happened, and I don't know what that is. Something's coming, I can tell, but yeah, we're just in idle mode again, just like we were with COVID.
And again, mate, I'll go back to my work environment, and I say it all the time. Our industry, and I guess I've been in mining for so many years now that I'd probably forget every other industry, and I'm sure it happens everywhere. We are a reactive industry.
Yes.
If I go to a pre-start, if our mate squashed his finger the night before, our focus for that week is finger injuries and hand safety and all that, because we're reacting. Even though there's been a million fingers being cut off over fucking 50 years, we lose sight of it because next week someone hurts his back, and it's just like now our focus is on that.
Yeah.
So we're always reacting, even though we've got background in it. We've got statistics that go back as long as time, mate. Just let's focus on the whole picture. Like, mining's dangerous. Don't put your finger where you wouldn't put other parts of your body.
Yeah.
Don't do dumb shit because you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
No different to, mate, don't leave a fire going, because then all of a sudden it burns an area down and potentially puts someone's life at risk. Like, that's as simple as that. Like, it's a reactive world that we live in, and we always react too late, and then we sit back and go, and mate, I just wish, as simple as you just said it, you've already predicted 2030. And I reckon if we sit down here and have this fucking potty in 5 years' time, we'll just go, oh, well, cheers to you, Matty. You called it 5 years ago on episode fucking 13 of the Offroad Yarns and podcast.
Last night, you know?
And it's shit that we're actually sitting here laughing about this, because it's a reality, and you're going to take away everything we live.
We'll be riding a push bike to the roundabout down the street or the reserve a few kilometres away because we can't leave our 15-minute zone, you know? Like, I don't like this whole conspiracy thing, and I don't want to be attached to too much of that, but after everything we've seen, I mean, how far is the apple
there's merit in it.
From the tree?
Can't be too blind.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
And again, I'll say, until I'm blue in the face, mate, a big part of why I live in the Pilbara has got to do with that whole thing. That I'm hoping, and my wife's hoping, and our kids are hoping, that we're prolonging 2030 to 2035 to where it catches up here. Because, I mean, mate, we're so, and again, you know, I say all the time, mate, I've had this conversation with plenty of people about mining. Mining's destroying this country. In the same breath, it runs this country. Without mining in this country, absolutely. And a lot of people, you know, I want to shut mining down. Well, all these guys that are protesting and saying now it's bad, it is bad. Make no mistake about it. But the reality is, everything you enjoy in life, And the reason we don't go into recessions and you have good shit in this life is because of mining. The money that produces out of this country in mining is what
Same as
runs this
coal,
country.
same as gas, same as
Yeah,
fracking. It's all the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is only, I guess, not a matter of if it'll happen. It's a matter of when it happens. And I guess we keep sharing our opinions. We keep having a voice. We keep hoping that, I don't know, like something happens where they would just say, fuck, give the people back their rights. Give them the right. If you can give, oh, dare I say it, if you can give the right to a kid to go to school as a cat, fucking let me go out bush.
Yeah.
I just want to go out bush, mate. I'll look after the bush. I'll do the right thing. Like, I don't want to be a cat out there. I just want to be human that I was born as.
Yeah, that's right.
I know it seems ridiculous, but it's like, it's not, man. I just give us back our rights. Let us have a bloody vote on who we are and what we want to do, as long as we're... And again, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, mate. If people make a mistake, or if people do the wrong thing, reprimand them, mate. You know, at the end of the day at work, if you get done, if you blow numbers 3 times, just sack the bloke. Don't give him 42 warnings. Like, just sack him, mate. He's not cut out for it. Like, we need to blow zeros every day, mate. That's our job.
Yeah.
If you want this job, you need to blow zeros. No different, mate. If you get caught on the beach doing doughies or leaving your rubbish behind, cancel his rego, mate. Put a ban on him. So that it just becomes it's a massive thing. And I spoke to a bloke the other day about Teerwa Beach, where we used to, when we lived on the sunny coast, we used to go to Teerwa Beach, and he said it's unrecognisable now, mate. Like, it's crazy, to drive into Teerwa Beach and there's cameras everywhere before you drive onto the beach taking everyone's rego. It's like, wow. Yeah. But I see a bit of, I struggle with this because I'm a 50-50 on, put them up, get their regos, and if they make them, if they fuck up out on that beach, mate, that's your car. We've seen it. Done. See you later. Don't ever come back. They can buy another car next week and they can do all that, but at the end of the day, you're just making it hard for them. I think there's a merit in some of that stuff to where it's, man, like, if you're a flog, you need to be treated like a flog, and there needs to be consequences for being a flog in life, in everyday life. Like, you make a mistake, if it says rules are there to be broken sometimes, I believe that, but at the end of the day, mate, if it says 110 and you're doing 140 and get pulled over, don't blow up at the copper, mate. It's 110 ton, you're doing 140.
Just don't.
It says there, put your rubbish in the bin, and if you put your rubbish on the ground and walk off, well, mate, at the end of the day, if you get a fine or your car's rego gets suspended or whatever, like, don't sook about it, mate. The rules were there. It's put in place for a reason. It's to stop this, So, yeah, again, we'll go around in circles, I reckon. But the reality is, I hope that 2030 isn't a thing, mate. I hope it's not to where we do actually sit down again.
About it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, Matty. I do a fair bit of, because I do live up here. I put my head in my arse and I just go about living and just pretend that it's not happening. And enjoy life for what it is, because before you know it, and I think, like I said, you've got to have a voice and you get involved in this sort of stuff. And if we can sign a petition to help, if they make that open to everyone in Australia, I will sign it in a heartbeat, 100%, and get behind it. Because I think if you don't do anything, it's just too easy to pass it. But if there's a bit of backlash, they've got to listen, whether they do anything about it. But I think backlash is a thing. I think we really need to backlash, put our foot down, make a stance, and do what we'd do if COVID come around tomorrow, where we wouldn't get the jab. We'd tell them to stick it somewhere else. Yeah. Because I think that's what we've got to do.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
What do you reckon there, young fella?
Yeah, I think we've summed it very well. It was a bit over an hour, but it's good. I'm very, very glad that you offered to come on. Thank you. Cannot thank you enough. It turned into an absolutely great podcast, I reckon. Covered a lot, and thanks for everyone's input. And just we didn't say a lot of the swearing, but it just shows I feel like it shows a bit of a passion that that they're frustrated. People are frustrated, and so and so we just need to take that frustration and actually do something. Like, I've been calling for a leader. It felt like we need a bit of a leader. Tony stood up, so let's support it. If you don't want to take it from the front, give him help him, pushing from behind. So
And I just want to say, anyone that is watching this or listens to it or whatever when this does come out, if you, in any way, shape or form, like at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of anonymous. I think being anonymous is weak as piss. I'll put that out there straight away. But if you want to have an opinion and you think the three of us are just three flogs that have got, like, because Tony spoke about that in his video, that he got a lot of backlash and people, whether it's just misinterpretation of what his point was, he got heaps of backlash, even bullying and hate, hate emails and hate messages and that. Like, that's a thing. Like, I mean, let's not pretend that that's not a thing. And, bullying in schools is worse than anywhere, worse than any other period in history. So, bullying is a thing, and because we are entitled people that we feel like we're going to have an opinion on everything. But guys, get on here. Like, send us an email. Jaden said that. Offroad Yarnsman podcast, offroadyarnsman@gmail.com.
The Offroad Yarnsman podcast @gmail.com. Yeah.
Get on there, send an email, or get on Instagram and send us a message. Send us a private message.
Yeah.
Please don't go anonymous, because we won't read your message out. You can, you can go somewhere else with your anonymous messages. But yeah, get around it. Let us know. Are we out of line? Is there stuff that we've spoken about today that you think, I don't think you've got a handle on it, guys? Have you thought about this, and have you thought about that? Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're just three blokes. We're just three bare bums in the shower that have got an opinion. But I think from different experience, I've got no experience in the Southwest, but I'm a 51-year-old man that's been in this industry for a long time, and love it and live and breathe it. Jaden's an up-and-coming sort of guy that's, a young fella about to bring a family into this. Heavens forbid, what he did when he was a kid and what we did when we were a kid, and then what his kid's going to be doing when they're 15 and 18 and that get their first four-wheel drive. Hopefully four-wheel drives are still a thing then. So, yeah, everyone jump on board. And, again, I want to, as Jaden said, mate, thanks, Matty, for your time, mate. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because you are someone that, you're a passionate person. You're educated. People know you and know that you're passionate and you love the way you go about it. And it was interesting just to see a couple of even just the way you spoke about how you've changed the way you go about it over a period of time. And even, even just experiencing stuff before you did have a channel or social media, before you were in any way, shape or form influencing people's way of life. Because, I mean, let's not forget about that there's plenty of people, like you said, that young fella going to that spot and just said, I didn't realise. That's, I think that's why people say influencer and that, because you do influence people's opinions or people's outlook and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. So we can't thank you enough from Jaden and I, man, to come on here and take your time out of your day, get sunburnt, cook your phone, do all the stuff that you've had to do just to be a part of it. Because it means a lot to us, mate. Like, it's another opinion rather than just Jaden and I and someone with that background. So
yeah.
Absolute legend, brother.
I don't profess to know everything either. I know I don't know everything, and I'm just speaking based on my perception and assessment of what I do know and my view on the world and how I see it. And I'm happy to be wrong. Always happy to be wrong, and just bear that in mind. If you have any criticisms of anything that I've said, it's we're all born with that free will to be able to assess things based on.
Absolutely.
How we see things and our background and what we believe is true in our DNA. So, just like all of us, that's all I would say. And if you're find yourself out in the bush and you see some rubbish, or maybe feel compelled to just do a little bit and try and lead by example. You don't have to be someone with a big platform or heaps of followers. You can still influence your own little community, family, friendship, friend base that you dwell in, and change. Jordan Peterson says this thing where you don't go try change the world if you can't clean your room. You start small.
How good's that?
Keep your room clean before you go out there and try and change the world. So everything is still able to be at your fingertips just by trying to influence your own little world. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I love that saying. I've never heard that before, mate. That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Nah. So
been good chat. I'm glad you got me on. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Nah, legend, man. Anytime. Hopefully we'll get you back and get on some other topics.
That's it. That'd be great. Yeah, I'll be right up for that. Yeah. Yeah.
And big thanks to Tony for gave him a message last night asking if we could play that audio, and obviously big thanks to him for doing what he's doing and putting himself out there. So
get around him, guys, and get around the cause.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll lose it forever.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah.
All
Awesome.
Right.
All right, in closing, legends, thanks heaps for watching. And again, I know we didn't do it at the start of this potty, but yeah, just a bit of a shout out to Jaden, Devil Accessories. He obviously we say it all the time. He does sponsor his own podcast because he's a cool guy. So appreciate that, mate. Get around it. Provoked Apparel, Renegade Grips, and Anarchy Auto Care that are supporters of our potty. And give again, it goes back to just looking after your fellow man, your fellow Aussie little small businesses having a crack, and that's what we all stand for. It's no different to standing up for our rights. Stand up for your little businesses, mate, because they're doing a good job and they do it hard out there. So thanks for those guys for being a part of the part of the potty, and thanks for joining us on episode 13, and we'll do it all again real soon. Thanks, legends. Thanks, boys.
Thank you.
Cheers,